Stages Houston is always putting on amazing performances, and Das Barbecue is no different. This comedy is going to have you stomping your feet, slapping your knees, and laughing out loud. It reimagines Wagner's epic music drama, The Ring Cycle, as a hilarious Texas hootenanny. By the way, I've always wanted to say hootenanny out loud. Say it with me, hootenanny. Das Barbecue is playing now through June 1st, so get your tickets and watch 5 incredible actors transformed into over 30 outrageous characters. Hold on to your hats, y'all, and get your tickets at stageshouston.com today. Want to make a real difference in just 1 hour? Join the Harris County chapter of Gals Who Give on May 13th for their quarterly event from 7 to 8 p.m. at 249 West 19th Street in Houston. This is really cool. All you have to do is bring a blank $100 check, nominate a local nonprofit, then 3 charities are randomly selected to present, and 1 will walk away with the full pot. And you'll get a tax receipt. Join them and make a real change. Learn more at galswhogive.org and click on the Harris County chapter in the upper right. Today on CityCast Houston, the headlines have been wild lately here in H-Town, including some jaw-dropping news about the former owner of the Turkey Leg Hut. So I'm bringing on Chron.com's trending news reporter Faith Bugenhagen to break it all down. And after our chat today, executive producer Laura Eisensee will be joining us for a conversation sponsored by the Xavier Academy about what makes them stand out from other local private schools. Stick around to learn more. It's Tuesday, May 6th. I'm Raheel Ramzanali, and here's what Houston's talking about. Faith, I usually like to end Tuesday's episode with Only in H-Town, but we are starting with Only in H-Town. Is that okay with you as the guest?
Yes, that is perfectly fine. And I think because of this story, very appropriate.
Yeah, it's very appropriate. So everyone buckle up, okay? Because this story has allegations of arson, dealing drugs from a restaurant, and threats, all right? And it's all happening with the Turkey Leg Hut as the backdrop of it all. And of course, the Turkey Leg Hut, the prominent restaurant, it was nationally renowned in the Third Ward and has gone through so much drama to the point where it is now bankrupt and extinct. So federal prosecutors laid out these allegations against Lynn Price, who's one of the former owners of that restaurant, the Turkey Leg Hut. And FBI agents said that Price paid a group of guys to burn down Bar 5015, which was right next to the Turkey Leg Hut. But wait, in the same trial, agents also alleged that the Turkey Leg Hut was dealing weed through the restaurant and used Turkey Leg Hut branded bags to sell hundreds of pounds of marijuana. Faith, what?
I know, it's shocking. Our food writer, one of our food writers, Erica, who you have on the pod all the time, we were talking about these allegations. She was reporting on these allegations, as well as other publications. And it's just so surprising. However, I do think there is a good amount of people who are aware of the history around Turkey Leg Hut and some of the drama. And so I think this just adds to what has already been out there regarding Turkey Leg Hut, but the drugs and the arson and all of that is definitely shocking to see. And I wonder what former customers of the Turkey Leg Hut thought when they were reading all these stories come out. I wonder if they were like, oh, I was expecting this, or if they were like, oh my gosh, I was just trying to get a turkey leg and here's all this going on.
It has to be that, right? Like, no one expects that they were using the Turkey Leg Hut to deal weed out of, okay? But wait, all right. So those allegations are wild enough, okay? Here's the next one. Are you ready for this? FBI agents were also alleging that Lynn Price orchestrated the theft and illegal sales of cars, heavy equipment, and trailers as well. So there's another whole crime ring happening with Lynn Price. Now, again, these are allegations, okay? But this is nuts. Okay, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I saw that. And I saw specifically in the Houston Chronicle's article, this jumped out to me, was that he allegedly had guns registered to other people as well as a flamethrower.
Yo, hold on. What? Hold on. Who brought a flamethrower to the story?
Exactly. And it just is, it adds to
Oh,
all of what is already piling up. I know that the article pointed out that he could be facing around 20 years in
yeah.
federal prison. So it will just be something that we'll have to continue to watch, but a lot of allegations and alleged crimes to keep track of.
Yeah, and I know we're laughing and having fun with this, but this could have been a lot worse, right? Like, yes, bar 5015, in 2020 was burnt down, or part of it was. And again, it was a group of arsons who were hired by Lynn Price, which are, again, allegations. We'll find out what exactly happened here shortly. But this is serious. This is scary. And only in H-Town can one of the most famous restaurants serve as a backdrop to all of these criminal allegations. And just wow. Wow.
Yeah, just wow. To your point, I think these are serious allegations. It's just almost unbelievable that this amount of allegations have come out. So again, we'll just have to see what happens and plays out in court.
All right, Faith, we're going to move on because I want to talk about what Mayor Whitmire recently announced. Now, he's been very vocal and focused on getting a new deal done with HPD, and he accomplished it, at least most of it right now, because the city and HPD, Houston Police Department, unveiled a new 5-year deal that will give officers a nearly 40% pay raise by 2030. Now, the deal is going to cost the city about $832 million over the next 5 years. But let's talk about the immediate impact, because it's going to add about $166 million to the city's budget, which is already at a big deficit. What were your thoughts when this came out?
Yeah, as you mentioned, there is a big deficit that the city is facing. So to see this price on this deal was, I believe, shocking for some people. However, there have been arguments that are made by Whitmire as well as other police officials that we're having an issue with incentivizing people to join the police here in Houston locally. We've seen that come out numerous times in these conversations about striking a deal. And we're seeing cadets, Whitmire has said, get trained here in Houston and then go off to Austin or Dallas or nearby police departments. So there's a pool where it's going to be expensive for the city. However, there's a pool where the city needs law enforcement
Yeah.
officers. And how do we bridge that gap? So Whitmire is proposing this deal, which still needs approval, of course, to bridge that gap.
Yeah, it needs approval by city council and also with the police union. So they need to figure things out and get that signed. And that was going to be my next question. Do you think city council will actually sign this deal? Because it's adding so much money to a budget that's already going to be operating at a deficit. Now, the fiscal year will start this summer for the city of Houston. And it's projected that the city is going to be operating at a deficit of $200 million before this deal. Okay, so if this deal is approved by everyone, that's another $166 million added to that. So we're looking at almost $400 million at a loss right now for the city. I don't know if they're going to approve this. City Controller Chris Holland is going to fight back, right? Like, it just, I don't see how this is going to work. Now, the mayor has said that they will be unveiling a new budget that will balance the budget. So maybe there's something in there. Maybe there's new fees. Maybe there's some new revenue source, because right now it just doesn't make sense fiscally.
Exactly. And Controller Hollins has said numerous times that it's either time to cut spending or find new
Yeah.
revenue sources. And we'll have to see. As we're speaking right now, Whitmire is outlaying that budget. And in terms of Houston City Council approving the police contract, I think it will be contingent on what that budget looks like, if we're seeing new revenue sources, where we're seeing cuts, because there have been numerous city council members that have said, we're spending too much, we need to dial it back. They had an issue with the fire contract. So
Mhm.
we'll have to see how they receive this proposal.
Yeah, and that's the firefighters deal that Mayor Whitmire got done ASAP as soon as he took office. That was one of his big promises, and he delivered on that. So we'll see how all these numbers are going to work out. And this is definitely going to be, in my opinion, the big story throughout summer. Like, what is going to happen with this budget? What's going to happen with this deal? And what is the city going to do? Because this deficit is growing and growing. H-Town really comes alive in spring, and especially in the heart of our city, downtown Houston. There's so much to do, so grab your crew and explore everything downtown Houston has to offer. From their vibrant parks to their sizzling food scene, and of course, those amazing free outdoor events all season long. Want to just gather the family and hang out like I enjoy doing? Downtown Houston has you covered. Head to Market Square Park or Trebley Park for kid-friendly games, movies under the stars, and so much more. To really be in the know, text downtown to 56512, where you'll find maps, the best parking spots, special events, and more. You can also find all of the fun and free events at downtownhouston.org. Spring is here, so come eat, play, and explore in downtown Houston. Get revived and energized in downtown. We're all looking for a perfect Mother's Day present, so let me tell you about the Aura frame. It was just named the best digital frame by Wirecutter, and I got one for my mom, and she's not that tech savvy, but it was a breeze for her to set up. The best part, once she was connected to the Aura app, all of my siblings and so many cousins all over the country, we started sharing photos with mom right away. Pictures of grandkids, memories from our childhood, and even one from my cousin's wedding where my mom and dad fell asleep during the ceremony. Yeah, I'm definitely keeping that off of Instagram. The picture and video quality is second to none, and Aura frames look good all around the house. Aura has a great deal right now for Mother's Day. For a limited time, listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off plus free shipping on their best-selling Carver matte frame. That's AURA frames.com. Promo code CityCast. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
My big story for today is school vouchers are finally law. This is something that we have been expecting and watching since the Texas legislature entered into session. But over this past weekend, Governor Abbott signed Senate Bill 2 into law. And what Senate Bill 2 does is it will allow taxpayer dollars to go to private and parochial schooling and be funded for these families that are participating in the program.
Yeah, we knew this was going to be the big thing to watch right now with the legislature. And there was a bill that was going to pass together with this that would increase funding for public schools, but that one hasn't passed just yet, or signed into law, excuse me, Faith. Right? That's my understanding. So we still have to see what's going to happen with public school funding, but I want to spend a moment on the school vouchers. We have done a lot of episodes on school vouchers. I'm going to link those in our show notes if you want to dig in deeper, but I think you laid it out perfectly. It's taking public tax dollars, and families will get these vouchers to help pay for the cost of private education or going to religious schools, also for homeschooling as well. And this also helps students with disabilities. So there's a lot of promise in here, and it's about $1 billion for right now. So when you think about the math, and the reason I'm bringing this math up is when I was talking to parents over the weekend about this, a lot of them believe that every student who applies is going to get money for this. That's not the case. This is only for about 100,000 students across all of Texas, not just HISD, not Fort Bend ISD. Faith, this is across all of Texas. And I think a lot of parents are sold that, no, my child, I'm going to apply and I'm going to get this. The percentages say that your child probably won't get one of these vouchers when they do roll out.
Exactly. Yeah. So the bill itself is taking effect as law in September. And then the state is expected to launch the program in late 2026. And to your point, there's even a cost breakdown with the kind of student. So if there's a student with disabilities and their family is applying, they could receive the $10,000 and then up to $30,000. And if they're a homeschool student, those are eligible for $2,000 of the money pot, which is right now $1 billion for the biennium, which are the first 2 years of the program. But the costs are projected to increase to up to $4.8 billion already by 2030. And those are expenses that this state is going to have to find resources for if the program, which notably is one of the largest school vouchers in the country, will stay into law and be provided for families. So it's important to watch because at the end of the day, it is a significant financial cost to this state.
Yeah, perfectly put. And we'll keep our eyes on that and see what happens. One last thing on this. What does this mean politically for Governor Abbott? Because this was a promise that he made in 2022 when he was up for reelection and has gone above and beyond to make sure that this passes, including getting, Republicans who oppose this out of office. They got primaried. All right. And now, there was some pushback. There was a fighting chance, it looked like, there for a second, but he got it done. What does this say politically for him?
Yeah, Governor Abbott is a very happy man right now with having his legislative priority into law. He has been battling this for years on end, doing everything he can, spending billions of dollars towards this. And what it means is a significant win for Abbott and many other large GOP names in Texas. And we saw in
Hmm.
the days before SB2 passed that Abbott had called President Donald Trump in a closed door meeting with Republican state lawmakers to put one final push to get
Hmm.
it across the finish line. So there were some heavy handed stops that were pulled out to get this to law, and he accomplished it. And I think now we'll have to see how the implementation goes.
Faith, speaking of President Trump, let's go to Texas under Trump. I've got a couple of stories here, including one that you worked on that we're going to spend some time on because there are some crazy things from that story. But first, I want to start with Tillman Fertitta, Houston's richest man, officially has a new job. He will serve as the ambassador to Italy and San Marino after the U.S. Senate confirmed him last week. Now, this is a huge deal for Tillman because from a business standpoint, he has to step down as CEO of Fertitta Entertainment, which has Landry's Incorporated under that umbrella, the Golden Nugget casinos, and so many other business ventures, including the Houston Rockets. He will still own the Houston Rockets as an owner of the team, but he can't participate in any business decisions. And he's also going to have to resign from the board of regents at the University of Houston, where he's been a member since 2009. And you can't drive through the U of H campus without seeing his name all over. So this is a pretty big deal taking this role for, the richest man in Houston.
It is. It is a significant deal. It also increases Texas's presence in Trump's cabinet because something we saw when these positions were being filled, we were constantly looking at, okay, is there going to be a Texas lawmaker, philanthropist, business owner, just notable Texas names? And I believe that we hadn't seen as many as we thought we may see in those conversations. So when we saw Tillman, it was good to see Texas represented. But in tandem with that, to your point, Houston isn't necessarily losing a significant individual because he'll be here. He'll continue to do his work. I know he's staying on as the Houston Rockets owner, but he's just getting almost like a promotion. I guess you could see it
Yeah,
as.
what does the ambassador to Italy, like, what is he doing? Because it seems like relationships are good with Italy. It's not like a contentious relationship. So
Yeah.
just seems like you get to go to the Italian coast a lot, maybe. I don't know. It sounds like fun.
Yeah, so I did watch his entire Senate confirmation hearing, and he spoke about wanting to increase the robust trade relationships that we have with Italy and really focus on how to make business relationships with Italy, San Marino, and the United States better. So I think that will be something to watch because he has so much business expertise. So how can he help trade? And I'm assuming he will be joining President Trump on all of his visits to Italy. We know that Tillman himself has Italian roots. So it will be cool to see what he does and what he accomplishes in this role.
Yeah, one last thing, Tillman Fertitta did host a fundraiser for President Trump and has donated millions to Texas politicians, Democrats, and Republicans. However, most of his contributions have gone to Republicans, notably Governor Greg Abbott. So, for people who are watching from the outside in, it's like, hey, if you have money and you've got the influence, then you get the power and roles like being the ambassador to Italy, which is something that a lot of people feared, but unfortunately, I think it happens a lot more than we know, right? So wanted to point that out as well because it's a big thing for a lot of people watching this.
Yes, especially in politics.
Hey, CityCast. According to me and my calculator, you will spend more time this week between the sheets than you will at work. So upgrade your sheets to Cozy Earth. Luxury starts where you rest. I start my evening in buttery soft Cozy Earth bamboo pajamas. Then I dip into a Cozy Earth bamboo sheet set. They are silky and temperature regulating. Forget the 9 to 5. Prioritize your 5 to 9. Cozy Earth products will transform those hours into a sanctuary. And they take comfort seriously with a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. Luxury should not be out of reach, so Cozy Earth is giving CityCast listeners 40% off their best-selling sheets, towels, pajamas, and more. Visit CozyEarth.com and use the code CozyHouston for 40% off because you deserve a great night's sleep, and sanctuary awaits at Cozy Earth.
Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
Faith, I want to get to the next story because you have this one and you reported on this, and this is really, really disturbing. There are going to be things that we talk about that might offend some people. There's going to be some coarse language as well. So if you're listening to this part of the podcast and you have kids in the car, or if you're listening in public, this would be a good time to put some headphones on, or maybe just mark this episode and pick it up a little bit later because there are some disturbing details from this story. Go ahead, Faith.
Yeah, so we looked into a group chat from Turning Point USA students, which is a chapter of conservative students on campus, and specifically on Texas A&M's campus. And the way that Turning Point works is it's a conservative group founded by Charlie Kirk, who is a conservative activist, that allows students to come together and talk about their political ideologies and beliefs. And they have chapters across the nation, right? And so this chapter was located in Texas A&M, and Charlie Kirk was going to be visiting the campus, which we saw. And a group chat from a former member of this student group was posted online because of the content. And the content featured Islamophobia, homophobia, transphobia, and commentary, about a lot of things going on politically that, as you say, were disturbing in terms of the content. And so this former member wanted to alarm people hey, when you see all these people gathering for Charlie Kirk, when you see Turning Point USA on our campus, some of the members are behind this rhetoric. And I want to stress some, because Turning Point USA may not align with what was said in this group chat, but these are members. And this is what is being presented as the group's ideology.
Okay, a lot to unpack there. So first things first, is there any connection to Turning Point USA and President Trump, like in a formal manner? I know you mentioned Charlie Kirk, who is a conservative activist, and obviously he's very pro-Trump, but is there any connection to either party?
So there is not a direct connection. However, what I will note is, as of a day or two after this article broke, Charlie Kirk was on the phone with U.S. Treasury Scott Bessent, who's in Trump's cabinet, and they were having a town hall with Turning Point USA students. So these are notable conservative activists, conservative groups that do have channels to Trump's cabinet and Trump's administration. Now, again, those are not direct ties, but they have communication channels and they clearly have influence.
Now, the Texas A&M chapter of Turning Point USA, where this happened, where these inappropriate memes, Islamophobic, racist, transphobic, everything you laid out, where this all happened in this group chat, have they come out and released a statement regarding this, saying that we don't stand by it or anything? Or what's that communication been like?
So we reached out to the university because it is a university sanctioned group, even though there's no
Okay.
direct ties. In order to have a chapter on campus, you have to get it approved by the university. And that is the one relationship between the two. So the university did not comment on the content of the messages. And Turning Point USA's chapter leaders also did not comment publicly on the messages. And Kirk himself, who we also reached out to, did not get back to us within the time of publication.
Yeah.
So there was no formal comment that we received, but post-publication, I reached out to a spokesperson from the university, and they said informally there were a lot of group chats amongst a lot of students. And that is what was the one comment that was made, which there are a lot of group chats amongst a lot of students. However, are there a lot of group chats with such content in this group chat? So other than a message or two that was leaked to us that we saw, which had two members stand by what they were saying, as well as say that it was within the right of the former member to post those messages, we have not had any public comment about the messages themselves.
Wow. So no statement at all from any of those parties saying that we do not stand behind these memes, we don't agree with them, nothing.
Nothing at all.
Oh.
Exactly what I'm saying is that we did give every opportunity for anybody to say anything, and we received no comment.
What? A simple message from Texas A&M at least. Like, no, we do not agree with this. This was, a few people from this group in a sanctioned group by the university, by the way, that had a high-profile visit with Charlie Kirk. I believe 3,500 students showed up for that visit on the campus of Texas A&M. And again, like, that's freedom of speech. You do you, right? Like, you stand behind your values, whatever. But when messages like these leak and they're very offensive, if you want to read them, they are actually posted in Faith's story that you can check out in our show notes. But when messages like that leak, I feel like the least you could do is say that we don't agree with this and we'll look into what happened. But you did mention that two students actually stand behind these memes and what they posted. Did they release their names or anything? Like, are they standing on this? Like, yeah, what? Like, yeah, we're racist. Who cares? What are you going to do about it?
So we do have unredacted versions of the messages, and the reporting process was pretty extensive. I want to shout out Gwen Howerton from my team because she assisted in the reporting process of reaching out to the original former member that posted. And that was how we were able to receive the unredacted messages. But the unredacted messages were the ones that included those two statements that said they stood by it and that the original poster had every right to expose these messages. And those two messages had names attached. And each of the messages that were in the group chat, we could independently verify that they were from Texas A&M students.
Wow. That is wild. Y'all have to read the entire thing. Faith, great reporting, and shout out to Gwen as well. She's one of my favorite follows on X or Twitter. So love seeing, her putting in the work as well. And y'all are doing some tremendous reporting. Y'all have to read the whole story. It's, it's heartbreaking to see, but hey, I mean, look, this is happening, right? And it's interesting to see people tell on themselves now. And some of them are standing behind it. Like, they don't care. Like, this is how we feel. And they have the right to feel that way, by the way. But we also have the right to not interact with them and know their names, right? If they're going to put it out there. So it's a read that I think everyone should do. And, no matter how hard it is, I think it's something that we should be aware of, that it's happening and people feel this way.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Thank you so much for that. And I do think everybody should take the opportunity to take a look.
And thank you to you as well, Faith, for joining us today. Can't wait to have you back on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Raheel. It's always great to chat with you.
That was Faith Bugenhagen, who covers trending news at Chron.com. You can read all of the stories we discussed on today's show in our notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please drop us a rating and review wherever you listen. Also, share this episode with 3 friends who loved eating at the Turkey Leg Hut, and please subscribe so you can get episodes in your feed every morning. Want even more Houston news and the best recommendations for events around H-Town? Check out our daily newsletter, Hey Houston, with the link in our show notes. Thanks. And don't go anywhere just yet. We've got a special segment coming up sponsored by the Xavier Academy. Executive producer Laura Isensee is chatting with the school's founder, Richard De La Quadra, about their program and how they support every student's unique needs.
Hey, I'm Laura Isensee here with Richard De La Quadra, founder of the Xavier Academy. Richard, please tell us, what is Xavier Academy?
So Xavier Academy is a fully accredited small private school. We are preparing our kids for college. 90 to 95% of our kids will go on to 4-year colleges and universities. And one of the ways that we are able to do that and meet the academic needs of our students is by providing AP level courses as well as dual credit courses with Lone Star, Houston Community College, and the University of St. Thomas. So we can be as highly academic as our students need us to be, while also providing the academic support that they may need in particular fields and areas.
And what makes Xavier different from other private schools in Houston?
What makes Xavier different is our approach to looking at every student individually and committing to providing what each student needs to be successful. So part of it is really delving into who every individual is and what each student needs, really looking at really customizing a kid's education. So we function as a traditional school where we provide the academic background like anyone else does. But our approach is, if you are strong in a particular area, we want to strengthen that as much as possible. So if you're gifted in math, we want to make sure that you get to at least calculus BC by the time you graduate. On the other hand, if you need extra support in a particular subject, then we can also provide that as well, whether it's tutoring with one of your teachers or a reading specialist or a math specialist.
That sounds so great that you're really looking at each student's strengths and also where they maybe need more support. And one area of support that really struck me learning about Xavier Academy is what you have in terms of mental health support for students. Can you tell me more about that?
Sure. One of the things that makes Xavier unique is really our willingness to look at our programs and see what works well and what doesn't. And I would say about 10 years ago, I had a young lady come into school. She was a ballerina, and she came to us because she needed a flexible schedule. And her mom happened to be completing her studies to be a therapist and needed to volunteer and get some hours in for practice. And she asked me, could she do that at Xavier Academy? And of course, we're a kind of school that we like to say, yes, let's see how this goes, try it out. And I got to tell you, after a couple of months, the students that this therapist began working with was having breakthroughs at a much faster rate than what we normally were able to do. And needless to say, we went from someone who volunteered to today I have 3 therapists at school that really provide all levels of services for the kids. Now, please understand, we're not a therapeutic school. So we are not here committing to take on kids' therapy. But I really have seen the advantage of having highly trained individuals to support kids whenever something happens. So if there are 2 friends that get into squabble, then I have trained therapists that can teach kids how to manage conflict resolution, how to learn to repair relationships, and learn how to have a conversation that kids might find difficult.
It really sounds like you're committed to, the students' well-being and just growth as a person. I'm wondering, for our listeners, what else would you like to share with us today about Xavier Academy?
Sure. We definitely are committed to students' well-being. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that we have found out over time and that our students have proven is that when kids feel good about themselves, when they're happy individuals, they really begin to perform in the classroom. So one of the other things that I'd like to highlight about our school is this relational approach to education. If kids feel connected, if they feel like they're a member of a community, they feel respected, cared for, and are invited to be part of whatever processes are going on, then they are more likely to buy into this concept of school and actually maybe even look forward to school and enjoy the experiences every single day.
What a concept. Look forward to school. Where can we go to learn more and schedule a tour?
So you can definitely visit our website, xavieracademy.org. Otherwise, you can give us a phone call at school, 832-533-2652, and just ask for the admissions department. We have tours at school every single day during school hours.
Well, Richard, thank you so much for being here and sharing this about Xavier Academy. Again, listeners, you can check out xavieracademy.org to learn more. We'll have that link for you in our show notes as well, so you're just a click away. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Laura. That will do it for today. I'm Raheel Ramzanali. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something new.